I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. It's a first for a Catholic school in Queens as a new principal takes the helm.
I want to keep and respect that great tradition, that great history of the school, while at the same time go forward and see what new things we can do.
Plus, they'll be praying at Ground Zero, just not on 9/11. We'll have the details of a religious gathering set for September 10th. And Indonesian Catholics in New York celebrate a milestone.
25 years ago was just a vision, right? And today I could experience the grace, the blessings that we receive from our Lord.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. For Catholic students in Brooklyn and Queens, the summer probably just seems like it zoomed right on by. Many of them back in school today as part of the new academic year. But with the new year comes change, a new grade, a new classroom, a new teacher, and in some cases, a new principal. Take, for example, St. Margaret's School in Middle Village, Queens. For 140 years, since the school was very first founded, a sister of St. Dominic has led it. Well, now for the very first time, a layperson is in charge, and he is a familiar face to our viewers. He was previously the director of the Brooklyn Diocese Office of Faith Formation, and he's our resident Giglio expert. I'm talking, of course, about Dr. Phil Franco. We caught up with him yesterday at St. Margaret's as he prepared for the start of the school year.
I'm the first person to be principal who's not a nun, and only the second non-Dominican, so I want to keep and respect that great tradition, that great history of the school, while at the same time go forward and see what new things we can do.
St. Margaret's has a very long history in the diocese. In fact, it's the fourth oldest Catholic school in the Diocese of Brooklyn. So for over 100 years, the school has been serving Middle Village. And in all of that time, there's always been Dominican sisters here.
We can't continue to staff schools as we used to. When I look at the listing of principals, there are very few, whatever religious community they may be.
Parents who have been here for many years, they went to the school, their parents went to the school, and now their children are here. And they're used to having a sister in the principal's office. I have an obligation to respect that history and that tradition, to, of course, keep the Catholic identity of the school, and continue to go in a thoroughly Catholic direction. But at the same time, I'm going to have some new ideas and changes and things like that. So I have to keep that balance.
Good start.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Just like the new principal.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
I hired Dr. Franco because he has been working in the Diocese of Brooklyn for several years before this and has a terrific reputation.
I believe that he's going to bring a whole different dimension because he is a parent. He's a part of the educational system from a whole different aspect.
He's very helpful, always open to our policy, always asking. Obviously he's new and I'm new, so I was a little anxious in the beginning, but he was very welcoming.
I thought about it, I prayed about it, and it was something I very much wanted to do. So I accepted the offer and became the principal.
We've traditionally planted the seeds, laid the groundwork, and I believe that the people who are taking over in leadership now will continue and bring their own gifts and talents.
Most, if not all of us, were educated by the nuns and the brothers. And we've been taught to teach as Jesus did. And so if the torch has to be carried by someone else, we can do it. We can do it.
The history of the sisters here is really continuous. So we still do have Sister Barbara, who works in the office, and Sister Patricia, who is the second grade teacher.
Like any other Catholic school today, we do share some challenges, and of course that's always enrollment. And so what we want to do is see how we can increase enrollment here at St. Margaret. So far we have about 11 new students, and hopefully that will continue. The Catholic school offers a spiritual dimension and a moral dimension that you will not find in a public school by definition.
We engage the children in learning about virtues and morals and ethics. How do you become a better citizen? How do you become a better person?
We try to form the child in his or her entirety. Yes, my favorite.
I think that Dr. Franco is going to do very well as a principal.
I think he'll be fine. I think he'll bring like something new, something wonderful, and something really special to this school.
He wants to engage the community. He's out there handing out flyers, trying to get the school more recognized.
He's family-oriented, and his focus is the children, the parents, the teachers.
Catholic education in general is so important and such a great gift to society and such a great gift to the church. I look forward really to working to improve it here in Middle Village at St. Margaret, and I think we will.
The buzz seems pretty good, so we're happy and we're excited about the year.
Well, of course, we wish Phil all the best. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from him very soon. Stay with us. There is much more currents coming up. When we return, despite Mayor Bloomberg's ban, clergy may get to pray at Ground Zero after all. We'll have that story plus the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, it's an anniversary celebration for Brooklyn's Indonesian Catholics. But first, let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, after being told they would not be a part of the ceremony at Ground Zero on September 11th, a group of clergy says it will hold its own service one day earlier. Last month, the New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg announced that first responders and clergy would not be part of the ceremony to mark the 10th anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks. Reverend Patrick Mahoney, one of the organizers of the clergy prayer service, called that announcement, quote, extremely troubling. Now, we'll talk with Reverend Mahoney about their prayer service a little bit later on in the show. Well, meanwhile, New York Congressman Michael Grimm wants the World Trade Center cross to be made a national monument. Grimm says the move will give the cross federal protection and allow it to be placed in the 9/11 Memorial Museum. The group American Atheists is suing to stop the cross from being placed in the museum, claiming it gives the impression that the government is promoting one religion over another. Well, meantime, this is sure to become a new symbol of 9/11. Yesterday, Governor Andrew Cuomo unveiled the new September 11th memorial flag. The flag contains 40 stars to commemorate the people killed on the plane that crashed just outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, United 93, also along with a pentagon shape and the image of the Twin Towers. Now, at yesterday's unveiling, Governor Cuomo said we each have to teach our younger generations about 9/11.
My daughters, the older one, 16 years old, they were 6 years old. They had a vague impression watching the television, but they didn't really learn. They weren't really educated. They were too young. And we have to make sure our young people learn. And it's every anniversary, every generation, we have to continue to teach them what the lessons were all about.
Cuomo says part of remembering the day is honoring the people who died. And Mayor Michael Bloomberg is urging people to stop calling the site of the September 11th attacks Ground Zero. In a speech on the rebuilding of the area, Bloomberg said it's time to call the site what it is, the World Trade Center and the National September 11th Memorial. Now, Ground Zero is a term typically used to refer to the site of a bombing. In Washington, a crane that was being used to repair the earthquake-damaged National Cathedral collapsed and fell on two of the cathedral's buildings. It happened just before 11 o'clock this morning. Church officials say there were no injuries. The crane was on the site to repair the cathedral's main tower in time for it to reopen this weekend for the September 11th memorial services there. Well, meantime, a camp in Massachusetts for children who lost relatives on 9/11 is closing. A co-founder says he believes the camp has accomplished its mission. It's hosted hundreds of children over the years, with more than 100 former campers later returning as counselors. Well, as summer camp closes, school starts up, but for some Catholic high school students in Philadelphia, the new academic year got underway without teachers. Hundreds of teachers are on strike after failing to agree on a new contract with the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. The teachers union says its members would lose job security under a proposed new contract. School administrators oversaw classes for schools scheduled to open today. Well, it is a back-to-school message for high school and college students in England from Westminster Archbishop Vincent Nichols. In a video message, Nichols encourages students to learn right from wrong, and he specifically addressed the riots in London last month.
Since then, much has been said about young people today, but I am confident that you do understand the issues involved, that we owe respect to others in every circumstance, that theft is wrong, that we are easily tempted in the spur of a moment, that the actions we take always have their consequences.
Nichols encourages students to seek true and lasting values and acquire the habits and routines of good behavior. Well, Ireland's Prime Minister is not backing off of his criticism of the Vatican over its handling of sex abuse in the Irish Church. Prime Minister Enda Kenny accused the Vatican of interference in failing to cooperate with an investigative committee. Kenny said, quote, "Anything less than full cooperation, in my view, is unwarranted interference," end quote. Vatican officials, though, say investigators' requests should have been made through normal diplomatic channels. And the bishops of Scotland say they are going to, quote, "strenuously oppose any effort to legalize same-sex marriage in their country." In a statement, the bishops say any attempt to redefine marriage is a direct attack on a foundational building block of society. The Scottish government is currently looking into the possibility of legalizing same-sex marriage. Well, stay tuned. There is more currents ahead. Coming up, they're forbidden from praying on 9/11 at Ground Zero, so religious leaders will be gathering on 9/10. Welcome back. Well, as the 10-year anniversary of the 9/11 attacks quickly approaches, most of us are thinking about how we will mark the tragic day. Well, the official dedication of the 9/11 Memorial in Lower Manhattan is set for Sunday, but Mayor Michael Bloomberg made it known just a few days ago that religious leaders and first responders will have no part in the ceremony. But a group of clergy is not taking the ban lying down. Leaders are planning to gather in front of St. Paul's Chapel at 10 a.m. on September 10th. That is Saturday, one day before 9/11, of course, to walk to Ground Zero for prayer and reflection. One of the organizers of that service now joining me on the phone. He's Reverend Patrick Mahoney, director of the Christian Defense Coalition. Reverend Mahoney, thanks so much for taking a few minutes for us.
It's great to be with you, and I want to apologize up front. We're out here at Ground Zero working with the City of New York to secure a spot. So if there's road noises or horns beeping or trucks going, please understand we're outside right now.
Absolutely, that is just fine. Well, the first question I guess I should ask, what was sort of the genesis for this particular prayer service? Was it simply the mayor saying, well, we're not going to allow religious leaders to be there on Sunday? So then I guess, was it kind of just a scrambling of, well, what do we do now? Was it that, or am I totally off base?
Well, no, I think you're capturing the spirit of it. We had hoped that at the official memorial service on Sunday, that a major role would be given to faith. After all, it was faith in God that sustained millions of Americans in the dark days after 9/11. It was faith in God that sustained people who lost husbands and wives. It was the faith of God that sustained first responders to go up those stairs, not knowing if they would ever come back down, and many of them didn't. And also, it was the faith community, in most particularly the Christian faith community, that provided millions of tons of food, of clothing, of blankets, the convoy of hope, trucks, tents. St. Paul's Chapel, right across from Ground Zero, was a sanctuary for so many. Many people went to their pastors and their priests for comfort and guidance and prayer. In fact, every study shows that in the months after 9/11, church attendance was up dramatically because people needed strength. They needed to put this disaster in context. They needed God. And so for Mayor Bloomberg to exclude that, to cut out a part of people's lives that was such an immense help, a sanctuary, if you will, in a storm, is really troubling, and I think that we felt that we had to carve out on the 9/11 Memorial Weekend a place where we could honor God, where we could pray for those who lost loved ones, where we could pray for the first responders and stand with them, and continue to honor God and thank Him that our nation has not suffered a serious terrorist attack since 9/11, and to really look to put faith in the proper context in the memorial service. It's sad that the mayor is really cutting out, I think, two of the cornerstones and really bright spots of that tragic day. And that is the response of the faith community, particularly the Christian faith community, and the first responders. Sure. So we felt we had to be at ground zero, and we are having the only public prayer service at ground zero at the 9/11 Memorial.
Sure, and you said, of course, you've been down there today trying to secure the location, get that the plans all cemented there. Let us know as much as you can at this point exactly what the plans are for Saturday.
Well, here's what we're looking at, and I'd like to encourage every person. They can, first of all, go to Facebook, go to Ground Zero Prayer and Worship. There's a Facebook event site. We'll give current information, Ground Zero Prayer and Worship. Where it stands right now is that at 10 a.m., we're gathering in front of St. Paul Chapel, 209 Broadway, and then we're going to walk over to a spot at Ground Zero. Now, I'm sure many of the listeners, being New Yorkers, know that much of the sidewalk around Ground Zero has been taken up by construction work, but there are several spots we're working with the city on, and I've been meeting with police officials. I was at the first precinct today, was down at Ground Zero all day, and we're fairly confident that we can find a spot where we will be able to pray. So go to Facebook, Ground Zero Prayer and Worship, and then 10 a.m. in front of St. Paul's, and we'll walk over. And we're very excited that we will have a chance to honor God, to pray, and to seek His continued blessing, His continued guidance, and continued protection for our nation.
All right. Well, Reverend Mahoney, Reverend Patrick Mahoney, the director of the Christian Defense Coalition, thank you so much for taking some time out to join us today to talk about this. Of course, you've given the information there where people can find out more on Facebook. Could you mention the title of that Facebook page once again for us?
The Facebook page is Ground Zero Prayer and Worship, and we meet in front of St. Paul's Chapel on Broadway this Saturday at 10 a.m. All
right, 10 a.m. on Saturday. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out to tell us all about that, and thank you for the work that you're doing, and we wish you all the best in the future. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and I hope to see a lot of folks out. God bless.
Well, thank you so much. All right, stay with us. There is much more Currents coming up. When we return, celebrating a quarter century of ministry in New York.
You know, we're still here for the past 25 years, and we're still here for the next so many years from now.
Well, finally tonight, it is the country with the largest Muslim population, and it's not located where you might think, in the Middle East. Indonesia is home to close to 238 million people, more than 86% of whom are Muslim. And despite that overwhelming majority, the country officially recognizes 6 religions, including Catholicism. Well, here in the Brooklyn Diocese, Indonesian Catholics had reason to celebrate this weekend, the 25th anniversary of the diocese's Indonesian Catholic Apostolate. We sent our cameras to check it out at Resurrection Ascension Parish in Rego Park, Queens.
We gather to celebrate the presence of the Indonesian apostolate here in our beloved Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens.
The Indonesian apostolate, like any apostolate, has as a role. Its role is multifaceted. Its role is spiritual, its role is social, its role is trying to offer to the immigrant that which he needs. Sometimes it's language. Above all is bring the faith to the people of God.
praise the Lord that our dream came true. You know, that was 25 years ago, was just a vision, right? And today I could experience, especially now I'm getting older, so I experience today the grace, the blessings that we receive from our Lord. Yes, I came in New York in 1962. So, and in that time, I only spoke Dutch. Over here, I really felt it different because I'm really Indonesian, all right? So I never knew about me being Indonesian until I met the people here in the Indonesian apostolate, and I realized when I came here that who I really am.
Even today, 25 years later, new Indonesian immigrants who come to the Diocese of Brooklyn or even locally in New York will come here for Mass in the Indonesian language and according to their customs, and this is something that where they find home.
98% of Indonesia is Muslim, so we're like the oddballs out, like us Catholics here. And I would always grow up with Indonesian friends, and they would all be Muslim, and I wouldn't have any like Indonesian friends in my church. Today was really exciting. All my family came over, and they helped us prepare food for the celebration today. And me and my little siblings are performing on stage, so we're all very nervous.
In terms of the quantity of people who come to the Mass, we've seen growth from year to year. When I came here, I was single. I got married. Now I have 3 kids, and then they all grow in the same community. And I teach them how to speak Indonesian, and they do speak Indonesian very well. We're still here for the past 25 years, and we're still here for the next so many years from now.
Another 25 plus years to come, we hope. Well, that is it for this edition of Currents. Now, coming up tomorrow, what does it take to be a faithful citizen? We'll find out less than a week before some special elections. Until then, though, be sure to visit us online over at currentsny.net. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. We're just all over the World Wide Web. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.